Okay, on this video, I'm going to go ahead and go through each of the practice problems so we can practice setting up and solving these problems. You will need your graphing calculator for this, and also double check and make sure that your graphing calculator is in degree mode. Okay, so the first set of problems, 1 through 4, are finding a missing side length. We're going to use the law of sines to find the missing side length. Now you'll notice that this isn't a right triangle, so we can't just use our regular sine, cosine, or tangent. That's why we have the law of sines. Okay, I'm interested in finding side AB. Another name for side AB would be small c because it's located across from angle C. So I'm going to need to do the sine of angle C, which is 114 degrees, over little c, that's what I'm looking for, equals, and then I set it equal to the complete opposite pair ratio that I'm given. So you always will be given a complete opposite pair ratio. So in this case I know angle B and I know side little b, which is 19. So I'll set it equal to the sine of 34 degrees over 19 because I can only have one variable in the problem, so I have to have that other ratio completely filled in. Okay, just like you've solved proportions before, go ahead and cross multiply to solve. So I have 19 times the sine of 114 degrees equals, when I cross multiply this way, I get c times the sine of 34 degrees. I want to get c by itself. That's what I'm looking for, is c. So to get c completely by itself, I'll divide by sine of 34 degrees. That would give me c all by itself. Whatever I do to one side of an equation, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to divide the other side by the sine of 34 degrees also. Alright, so in my calculator I'm going to type 19 times the sine of 114, close parentheses because I've finished saying how many degrees are for that sine, and then divide by the sine of 34. And that gives me, sorry about that, that gives me a 31.0 inch side length. I always go back and make sure if it makes sense in the context of the problem. And if this side over here is 19, I would expect little c to be much bigger because it's across from a bigger angle. Okay, number 2. This time I want to find side BC, which is located across from angle A. So that's side little a. So I can start out by saying, all right, the sine of 46 degrees over little a is equal to, now I need to find my complete ratio. So I have a c complete ratio. Angle C is 86. Side little c is 43 degrees. So I can write the sine of 86 degrees over 43. All right, now I'm going to cross multiply to solve. So cross multiply, I get 43 times the sine of 46 equals, cross multiply this way, that's a times the sine of 86. I'm trying to get a all by itself. So I will divide by the sine of 86 to get rid of that. Whatever I do to one side of an equation, I do to the other side. So I divide the other side of the equation by 86. So a is going to be equal to, I'll just type this whole thing in my calculator again, 43 times the sine of 46, close the parentheses, divided by the sine of 86 degrees. And it's again 31.0 inches, but that is just a coincidence. The answer is not always 31.0. Number 3. This time I want to find the length of side AC, also known as little b. It is located across from angle B. So I'll start out my law of sines with the sine of angle B, 75 degrees, over little b, equals, and then find my other complete ratio. See, the other complete ratio would be angle A and side little a over there. So the sine of 41 degrees over 19. I'm going to cross multiply to solve. So I get 19 times the sine of 75 equals b times the sine of 41. Okay, now I would like to get b all by itself, so I'll divide both sides by the sine of 41 degrees. All right, that gives me b all by itself. I'll type that into my calculator now. So I have 19 times the sine of 75, close parentheses, divided by the sine of 41 degrees, close parentheses. And that gives me 28.0 inches. All right, let's try number 4 now. 4 is going to be a little bit different. And you'll see as we try to set up the problem, we run into a snag right away. So BC is what I'm looking for. Another name for BC, since it's located across from angle A, is little a. So I can start this sine problem with the sine of angle A, which is 104, over little a equals, and then I need a complete ratio. So I have this side right here, CA, also known as little b, but the problem with that is I don't have angle B. I also don't have this side right here, so I don't have the C complete ratio either. But since I know that angles add up to 180 degrees, I can find this missing angle B right here. I can't find side little c. That would be too many variables in the problem, but I can go ahead and do a little side problem to find the measure of angle B. So I know that angles add up to 180 degrees. I'm already using 104 for angle A, and I'm using 47 for angle C. That leaves me with 29 degrees for angle B. So I can make this 29 degrees right here. So I can set the sine of 104 over A equal to angle B over little b, or sine of angle B. So sine of 29 degrees over side that is 4. Now I'm ready to cross multiply and solve. So when I cross multiply, I get 4 times sine of 104 degrees equals A times the sine of 29 degrees. If I divide by the sine of 29, I get A by itself. Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other, so I'll divide by the sine of 29 degrees on this side also. So it's 4 times the sine of 104, close parentheses, divided by the sine of 29 degrees. And that leaves me with 8.0 inches. Okay, now let's see how we would find a missing angle. So number 5 is how we would solve the problem if we were looking for a missing angle. So you still need to find your opposite pairs, angle and side, that are opposite each other, but kind of start to focus first on what is it that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the measure of angle A, therefore I also have to involve side little a, which is right here. So I can start the problem off with sine of angle A over side little a, which is 21, equals, and then find your complete pair. You still have to have one complete pair in order to use the law of sines. So I have angle B and I have side little b. So I can set it equal to the sine of angle B, 119, over side little b, which is 32. All right, now I'm ready to cross multiply and solve. And some of you may notice that we're going to eventually have to use the inverse sine, because I'm going to be solving for an angle measurement. So let's cross multiply, and we get 32 times the sine of angle A equals 21 times the sine of 119. Let me go ahead and use parentheses since I have been. Okay. Now, this is where it gets different from what we've done previously. I'm trying to get angle A, but I can't separate sine from A. So what I'm going to have to do is get rid of the 32, so that just sine of A is all by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do now is divide by 32. Divide by 32. So now I have the sine of A is equal to all of this over here. Well, if I want to find just A, then I need to take the inverse sine. So if I want to find just A, then I have to take the inverse sine. The inverse sine of that ratio, 21 times the sine of 119 over 32. Okay, so we're going to do the inverse sine of all of this right here. Notice that this is not inverse right here. You leave that sign alone. You take the inverse sine of all of this over here, but what's inside of it stays the same. You don't change it to inverse sine, okay? Be careful of that. All right, so we'll do inverse sine, and I'm just going to type this all in. 21 times the sine of 119, close parentheses, and then divide by 32, close my parentheses. So the answer is 35 degrees. Angle A is about 35 degrees. All right, let's try another one like that. So for number 6, I'm looking for measure of angle A, and I know side little a is 29, so I can start setting up my law of sines. So sine of angle A over little a, which is 29, equals, okay, then I have the sine of 88 over 41, angle B over little b. So the sine of 88 over 41. Okay, I'll cross multiply to solve. When I cross multiply, I get 41 times the sine of angle A, which equals, cross multiply this way, you get 29 times the sine of 88. All right, I want to get the sine all by itself, so I'll divide by 41. All right, now, sine of A is all by itself, so this might make things a little bit clearer if I show you what I'm doing to both sides. So you have the sine of A equals 29 times the sine of 88 over 41. What you are doing right here is essentially taking the inverse sine of both sides of the equation. I'm going to take the inverse sine of this side, which the inverse sine of the sine of anything, let's say 8, is just whatever's inside that parentheses, whatever you were taking the original sine of to begin with. And that's why it gives you A as a result. Whatever you do to one side of an equation, you do to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to take the inverse sine of that entire side of the equation also. If what I just did in the calculator confuses you, don't worry about it. I was just trying to show why you're left with A when you do this, the inverse sine of the sine. They are opposite operations and they cancel each other out. Okay, so I do second sine, and then I'm going to do 29 times the sine of 88, close parentheses, divide by 41, close parentheses again, enter. So angle A is 45 degrees. Okay, that's all there is for the practice set, for the apply it. So don't worry about the last two. They're no different than 5 and 6. If you need to watch this video again, feel free to do it. The link is on Schoology. At this time, if you feel comfortable and you don't need to watch the video again, go ahead and do the 10-1 practice set.